So, hi Nick, and thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed. You were like the biggest Neverending Realm super fan ever.
Yep.
And what can I say? I love what you guys do.
oh, thank you. Yeah, and you have this this wonderful game here.
Thanks.
That I'm going to dive in, and I've been playing a little bit, but I'm just going to start a new game so everyone can see what it is, and we got plenty of questions for you. So let's get started.
Awesome.
Yep, this is a famous Nick Quest that we heard so much about. Finally, we get to play it.
Yes, I'm excited for you guys to play it. I hope you like it. It was a labor of love.
Dark Lord, I imagine you're all here and all wondering why I called you here today. I think this part's pretty funny.
Oh, thank you.
Dragon, yes, my lord, the time has finally come. The day that the prophecy has spoken of since the time immemorial. The time when you shall... Oh, yes, indeed. I finally finished decorating our base, Chaos Citadel. My lord, thought you called us here to discuss our plans, conquer the world, and spread your glorious reign to the unwashed masses. Prophecy? What are you going on about? I just wanted to show everybody how amazing this place looks. Isn't my interior decorator? Okay, well, I'm not going to read everything, but you guys can see my screen, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, this does remind me of Working Designs translations. Actually, it's humor-wise, it does remind me of Working Design games like Lunar.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually that was sort of the direction I wanted to give a lot of the dialogue, because when I made this game, I wanted to kind of harken back to that period in terms of the writing, how it had some pop culture references and a little sort of tongue-in-cheek jabs at just RPG tropes.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of a mid to late 90s JRPG. From at least what I've played so far.
It is more because a lot of the Japanese games, the meaning gets lost in translation, but Working Designs used to do a good job in that. You felt like characters talk like your friends did, and so far what I'm reading here, it's something like people in America would say, when they're talking to each other. So it's more. So it does remind me of Working Designs, which is good.
Well, Nick isn't Japanese, so I don't think he'd have that problem with the dialogue either.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
No, I definitely remember just the localization in Working Designs games was just leagues beyond a lot of other games. I remember, as much as I love Star Ocean 2, the dialogue was so dry.
Yeah.
I would keep saves right for both Claude and Rena, right outside of the first town, just so I could play it without going through the 2-hour wall of dry text.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was one of the issues with Star Ocean 2. Yeah, the translation was pretty bad.
So, what really inspired you to create this game? Well, I mean, you're obviously a massive JRPG fan, Nick. We know that so far. What inspired you to create this game?
I mean, really, the inspiration came from a pretty early age. I was really into JRPGs from even before I was a teenager, and it really just never ended all the way growing up. I picked up RPG Maker on the PlayStation, and, because I was a teenager, I made just a bunch of really trash games.
Yeah.
And then there was one I did probably late high school that, it was my biggest achievement at the time. It got to be a couple hours long, but still wasn't anything. And then I made a prototype Nick Quest that was just a really kind of not particularly great game, but it had it was the first time I struck the balance between having generalized humor in a game and just all inside jokes, so to speak. And one day, actually, it was a couple years ago, I pulled out my old PlayStation, the thin PS2, and I was like, oh yeah, there's my memory cards. I should see if my old RPG Maker games are on here. But the files had corrupted, and I was really bummed for a day. And then I had picked up RPG Maker MV on a Humble Bundle like 3 years ago, and I thought, hey, I've gotten a lot better at writing, and like I have a much better idea of game design at this point. I should take a serious crack at making a game. And I sat down, and man, I ended up pouring well over 1,000 hours into making this, but I'm really proud of the end product.
Oh, 1,000 hours. Holy shit, Nick. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, I thought this is a really polished game so far when I've played.
But so far it looks it does look very high quality. I mean, it is a 2D RPG, JRPG, in the style of the JRPG, but it looks really good so far.
Now, along with that, one of my challenges for myself, because I work best when I have a box. I have like a set of parameters that I'm operating in, and to kind of, I like to harken to that last line of the Final Fantasy VII remake where Aerith references boundless, terrifying freedom. That's how I feel when I have no restrictions, and I'm like, oh God, what do I make? I don't know. So I thought to myself, I want to make a game like it'll be like Nick Quest, this like funny self-referential game, but I want to make it only using what comes in RPG Maker. And there were 2 points that I did concede on, because you can get all kinds of plugins to do crazy stuff outside of what this program can normally do. But I added something to give New Game Plus, and I added something to allow character sprites to be enemies as well, because those were like the only 2 things that the base program couldn't do that I was like, I won't concede on these 2 points. But everything else in this game that I did is just from playing with settings, playing with event design, and just working and repeating and trying and experimenting different things to get it to work the way that I wanted it to.
Awesome. Yeah, I can definitely tell this reminds me a little bit of the beginning of Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger was a huge source of inspiration for me. I'm sure you've seen in many of my interactions with you guys. I love that game so much.
Oh, that is one of the best games of all time.
Oh, love it. And I've got little nods that I do to other RPGs throughout things. The all caps that I do is from early 90s and late 80s RPGs, like the original Dragon Quest, Pokemon, Shining Force.
Yeah.
And the narrator being known as Asterisk is just my little kind of nod to the Dragon Quest games, because they name every NPC that.
Yeah.
I used to do that with the PlayStation RPG Maker as well, because if you've ever played that, like if you're ever like typing on PlayStation Network with the controller and you have to like scroll to everything, like that's how you had to type in that game. So I just did that just to save myself time.
So how long would you estimate, Nick, this game is in total if you do everything?
That's a great question. Thus far, with the people that I've spoken to, because I've had some people, many of the people that I know have given me a lot of support with this game. Some of the people I don't even know have played this game. Myself, I mean, it's unfair because I know the game. It takes me, I can speed run this game in about 4 to 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
I've had people as high as 40 hours at their cleared file.
Oh, that is pretty good, pretty long. That is epic.
And it has multiple endings too, as another nod to Chrono Trigger. When you beat the game, you can actually proceed to the final fight at any point in the game. And if you do it at different points in the story, you'll get non-canonical bonus endings.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is definitely a labor of love, Nick. So I've just kind of gotten around to here. Where should I go? What do you recommend for me to go now?
So it'll direct you. It'll say like, hey, you can't go out alone. So if you go to Schmidt's house, it's locked up. So that kind of directs you to go to Travis's house, where you'll kind of get the tutorial. And this person right here, Colleen, this was kind of fun. I actually had a competition on my Facebook page for Nick Quest. Yeah. And I had people, the competition was, hey, if you upload a screenshot of your save showing that you've unlocked New Game Plus, I'll choose one of you at random and add you as an NPC to the game. Colleen, my longtime friend and coworker, the one who had the 41-hour save, she uploaded hers and she won the competition.
Oh, nice.
So she actually wasn't in the original game. I made a new version just with her in it.
Cool.
And she gives you a really cool item that helps out a lot early game.
Yeah, we have the coffee right now.
Macron.
I love this. This reminds me of.
It is funny.
Have you played Star Ocean 1? I forget what it's called. Just Star Ocean. I do. Yeah.
It's a Super NES one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think I got to play it on a fan translation back in the day, and then I played the PSP remake. The PSP remake was fire.
Yeah. I've only played the fan translation of the original one. I mean, that did have some parts where you're like literally 8 hours trying to grind, but
sounds
just
about
for
right.
one boss. Yeah, but I really did enjoy that game. Yeah. So, how did you first get into JRPGs, Nick, or RPGs in general? What was your first video game experience?
Oh, I'm ashamed to admit this. Okay, no judgment here.
Okay.
Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. It's so bad, and I know it's bad, but I love it so much, and the soundtrack was great.
Is that the one on the Game Boy?
No, it was the one on the Super Nintendo. In Japan, it was called Final Fantasy USA. It was literally made to be like a tutorial Final Fantasy.
I see, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the. I don't know. Some people, I know a few people that liked it. I never actually played it, but it does seem like a good entry point for a kid into RPGs.
It totally was. I remember playing that game and I was so just enthralled with it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then after that, I played Super Mario RPG, and it was over for me from there.
Oh, that is a very good game. I haven't played it personally, but my brothers beat it, and I did watch them play some parts of it.
That one's legendary.
Yeah, that is a good game. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching him play the parts I watched. That's in a list of games I have to beat. It's hard. Sometimes you can't, especially like with a
that's a funny game too, because that's a like a good historical game too, because that was like Squaresoft working together with Nintendo just before the split happened.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, I mentioned that because I'm actually doing an article this week on what went wrong with the Nintendo 64, and that was one of the big issues that they had.
Oh yeah, it just losing on Squaresoft at that time when they were just like unstoppable. They were a titan of the industry around that era.
Yes, at the time Nintendo wasn't sure that RPGs. I guess nobody was, but the fact that Square left, actually, they sort of Enix followed soon after, and Nintendo was angry that Square kind of convinced sort of all the publishers from Japan to just leave and go to Sony, because the deals were just so much better, and Nintendo was very tyrannical in those days with third-party publishers, and the whole cartridge thing was just not ideal for the way that they were making RPG. They were going to make RPGs on the 32-bit, 64-bit era,
And honestly, having worked for Nintendo just for a small stint of time. Oh, nice! You got him.
Yeah, that was close. That was close. Yeah.
It's one of those fights that really kind of pushes your resources.
Yeah.
But no, definitely, Sam. I tested games for Nintendo for a small period of time, and they actually would hire you out of a temp agency. And yeah, like you only got work as long as they had games to test. So it'd be like, okay, I'm working. And then, okay, buddy, we got no games. And then you're not working. And they'd like hire like 1 out of 100 people on permanently. So I can totally see, as much as I love Nintendo, I can totally see that.
I see that. That's interesting. When were you a tester? Like what time period was this?
I think it was around 2005. I remember the big ticket items that everybody wanted to be part of were Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Unfortunately got put on Nintendogs.
Nintendogs.
Oh God.
I mean, my cousin really loved that game.
It was good for what it was. I'll give it that. Yeah, now that you've done your training, Schmidt's back now.
So how generous were you with the XP that you get from enemies? You know, do you get little XP? Do you get a lot of XP? How easy is it to level up this game?
It's not very hard. Even honestly, in terms of needing to prepare yourself for the first dungeon, the first boss, you can, if you're really good, you can probably take him at like level 3 or 4. If you're grinding a little bit, grab some gear. But the way I designed it is, if you're just straight grinding on enemies, you shouldn't ever need to grind for more than like 10, 20 minutes if you're pretty efficient at it.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe in really grindy games, and that was a decision I kind of made late in development, because at first I was like, I could pad my hours a little bit, and maybe some people enjoy the grind a bit, but then I thought, but grinding in an RPG isn't something I enjoy, and this game needs to represent me, so I just kind of made it pretty minimal. And believe it or not, these little decisions that you're doing right here, there are friendship values for your party members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to make dialogue that had an impact.
So that's similar. That's actually similar to I assume Star Ocean 2, where how you talk to the characters and stuff. It influenced some of the skits at the end. I did ask about the leveling up and XP part because we both share our common hate for Dragon Warrior 7 for the PlayStation 1, so it was just a question that I wanted to.
I knew that. I knew before I got into that game was going to get brought up, and I will say on the record that I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than ever play that game again.
God, that's pretty.
Yes,
that's pretty extreme. Oh, maybe I should play this game. Just so you guys can lock me in a room.
One day, some of the chief of staff at Square Enix were walking outside, and there was a dumpster that was on fire, and they thought that would make a hell of a game. And that's how Dragon Quest VII was born.
Yeah, I mean, I just have bad memories of like 80 hours of grinding.
Yeah, actually, I remember Sam and I were friends back then when Sam played it, and I called him one day. I was like, "Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. You doing okay?" And he's like, "Oh no, I've just been sitting here hitting the what button is it? The X button or the square button?" He was falling asleep after work playing it. I was like, "Dude, you should just play a different game for a while." And he's like, "No, I have to beat it. I have to finish it." And so, yeah, for about how long did it take you to beat that game, Sam? Like 3 weeks?
It was 115 hours. That's the longest JRPG that I ever played, just because of the grind.
Yeah.
Dude, you actually finished it?
He did.
Yes,
yeah.
I did.
I remember like once a week I'd talk to him and he'd just be suffering. And I don't think he played a video game for like a month after he beat that game. He just couldn't take it. Turning on the PlayStation.
Yeah. That game, it would take literal hours to level.
I really took off. I didn't care about the series anymore until now, Dragon Quest XI, because of that game. That game ruined the series for me. 8
did a lot right. Like 8 improved a lot from what 7 did, and while still really grindy, it just wasn't as overbearing. But I can really say that the quality of life features from 11 help a lot. Because man, 7 was
Yeah. I mean, there's grinding, but 7 was just awful. It's like if you didn't find the metal slimes to grind, you were done in that game. It could take you more than, like, I assume 200 hours, because it was such a slow grind. It was awful. Like, I would fall asleep literally. Like, I fell asleep like 4 times just hitting the X button while grinding. I fell asleep on my couch.
That's not surprising with that game.
Yeah, so many people are going to say, "Oh, how could you say that?" Because they played the rebalanced remastered version.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing. So one thing that the game does warn you about is to save and stuff. And then on the subject of grinding and whatnot, one of my principal decisions with this game and how I balanced encounters and skills is I think about action economy. One of the things that I love Final Fantasy, but the thing that annoys me about chiefly Final Fantasy VII late game is you win every fight by holding circle. And you just auto attack because that's far more efficient damage. Because it's like I could cast Ultima for 100 MP and hit everything for 7,000, or hit circle twice and Cloud hits one thing for 9,000.
Yeah.
So in this game, you've got different decisions at different points in the game. Attacking versus using skills, and then I also added the hunts to the overworld, so if you see an actual monster or something, that's typically a really powerful thing.
Okay, so Jello's some bad news.
That's actually pretty cool that you added hunts and stuff that, cool stuff from...
And if you do those hunts, you will level extremely quickly. I even tested that. I tried to do a low-level run the other day of my game.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, that wasp was bad news at level 1.
So on the subject of hunts, what game inspired you that had hunts in it? I can recall Art the Lad 2 and 3, I think, that they had hunts.
Unfortunately for me, I never got a chance to play the Arc the Lad series. I always wanted to. This was primarily from Final Fantasy 12 because I just remember how much fun it was, going around doing all those hunts. But yeah, they'll level you really quickly. You get monetary rewards from them. If you turn in the trophies in this game, you get more money and stuff. So it's a really efficient way to level. I pretty much didn't grind in my last play of this game, and I still ended at an appropriate level because I did all of the hunts. But the hunts are also significantly more difficult. Harkening back to action economy, you need to realize, there's certain times where attacking is okay, but then it's for example, Schmidt starts with a flail and you can use armor break. So, hey, this armor break, it'll lower an enemy defense. But later on in the game, if you get accessories that allow you to attack twice, now you have to balance what's better, using armor break to lower defense or getting 2 attacks in.
Yeah.
And each character has 2 different weapons, which fundamentally changes how they play. Axes for Schmidt do big damage, so everybody still has a role, but they have 2 different ways of doing it. Nick is tank support, so if you equip a sword and shield, you'll soon get a skill that really gives him a sort of tanky value in this game. Whereas bows just really give him a ton of MP regen, and he basically becomes like a healing fountain. Schmidt will get axes for big personal hits, or he'll get maces where he doesn't hit as hard, but he debuffs the enemy, so you get kind of a net value for the party.
Sounds pretty good. Sounds like you thought about everything. Any other type of side quests that you can do in this game?
Oh, yes. Oh, so have either of you guys ever played like Dragon Quest Inquisition?
Yeah, that's actually.
I actually own the game. I own the game, but I haven't played it.
No, I've played it, and it's actually Dragon Quest or Dragon Age is one of my brother's favorite games ever.
Oh, I love that game. Absolutely love it. my one complaint about it is it's like, remember you like walk out into the hinterlands and then you see like a million exclamation marks?
Yeah.
And it's so overwhelming, and then you do all of them, and every single side quest rewards you like a nominal amount of experience in gold. Only like 1 in 10 of them are worth doing. I opted to make less side quests. I think there's maybe a total of 30 something side quests in this game, but each of them has like a tangible reward. For example, one of the things that I did in this game is there's like super good weapons you can make, but each weapon takes 4 components. Well, oh, sorry about that. No, each weapon contain 3 components. Now, the different side quests will help you get those components. And if you actually do every single thing in the game, you'll get every single, you can get like the weapon and 2 of the components for every person on every weapon. But one of the components, item called adamantite, you can only get 4 of them per playthrough. So if you, but since there's 4 characters, each character has 2 weapons, and each of their ultimate weapons has 1 of 2 variants that you can make. It takes a total of 4 playthroughs to get everything.
Oh, that's where the New Game Plus comes in and stuff. Okay.
And
That's the other.
Yeah,
besides all the different
there is
enemies.
there is that Chrono Trigger influence.
And I did the same thing with armor as well. You get mithril as well. You'll get 2 per playthrough, and if you use both mithril, you can make the best in slot like shields and body for 1 character. So after 4 playthroughs, you basically have every variant of every item, and you've got the best in slot for armor.
So now that you're talking about playthroughs, do you have to play from the beginning to the end, or do you get a new game plus mode here?
So you get New Game Plus, you'll start at the level, whatever level you were at. The level cap in this game is 50, again, for just kind of minimal grinding. If you, and then, you know, if you're starting a new game, like, each subsequent playthrough is, like, after the first playthrough, I've beaten this game in as little as 2 hours. Because you're just so overpowered for everything. You're just blasting through areas, and a fun mechanic, Mont hasn't yet discovered it because it's revealed after the first dungeon, so to speak. But the overworld areas like this, after a certain level, you stop encountering monsters, because like, I hate when you're trying to just get through the overworld to like go like backtrack or whatever, and you get into all these like constant fights with like meaningless monsters. So, you know, dungeons, the encounters never go away, but the overworld, eventually you'll stop encountering stuff so that you can just kind of get around easier. But the dungeons are there so that you can continue grinding, you know, if you feel that you need to.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a good, good forward thinking on your part. That's actually a feature that
I like
to
this.
help
She
a
hastily
lot of
has
games that
me
I played. I
sign
want to replay, and I wish.
one of the most complicated release of liability forms imaginable. What the hell is this guild?
Thank you, Sam. Because I hate that, man. You're just trying to go around in Dragon Quest, and you're like, you encounter 2 slimes. Great.
Yeah, Dragon Quest is just. The Japanese love that stuff apparently, because they keep buying those games on droves, but I just, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I like them when I'm in the mood for just like a grindy, like, because sometimes, you know, I play so many games that are so complicated or fast-paced that sometimes I want to play something slow and grindy just to kind of zen out with, and I'll turn them on for that. But most of the time I'm just like, I prefer something a little less grindy, a little more upbeat. And to the right, you'll notice 2 characters, because every JRPG has to have a character that's just freaking weird and makes you question the setting. That's Big Bro and Little Bro.
Big Bro is swole. Big Bro knows fashion. Big Bro knows everything. What?
Now, there's still a method to my madness. So they'll actually advise you on how to equip characters for the kinds of gear that you use. For example, like Nick with swords is like tankier and physical attack, but bows scale off magic. So if you equip him with a bow and then start stacking like attack stuff, it's a build that doesn't synergize very well.
Yeah.
So I decided to put in a few NPCs sprinkled here and there to help the player, because I had a few people early on in testing say, hey, you got all these weapons and you've got this great breadth of accessories, but like I equipped this way and it kind of sucks, and like there was no real like hint or anything with it. So I did a little bit of that to give it a somewhat funny, somewhat like, you know, little bit weird stuff, but you know, gives them a hint.
I mean, it is kind of humorous. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to say too, and it looks like your game, is following that path. Working in science RPGs, you always want to talk to all the NPCs because they all have something interesting to say, and I feel like you really made an effort to do that yourself.
I gave him my best shot, you know. And then as to kind of harken back to old RPGs, like, you know, like whenever you talk to people and you see like the face portrait, like just like with old RPGs, if you see a face portrait when you talk to somebody, you know they're important. They're going to be involved. They're going to give you something, or they're involved in some kind of side quest.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about early game is like in Sumeria, you can just rest at Nick's house for free, so you can like kind of go back.
Is that, okay, I wasn't quite sure where I was. Schmidt mentions it pretty briefly, but I was like, because I don't want to be a dick and make people, because it doesn't make sense to like have to go to the inn in your hometown. I'm like, you could just go back to Nick's house. Oh, okay. Do I just go to the bed, or does it? Oh, okay. Let's rest up and then try to kill this Jello.
I mean, you are welcome to give it a shot. Let's see how this goes.
Okay.
The hunts.
Level 3.
I tried to be really balanced with how I approach the game. You know, early on, like, you know how you wandered a little bit to the west and you saw like one wasp, but it was still like slimes.
Yeah.
I rather messed up in the first, like in my early part of the game, because I was like, I gave a warning, like, let's not go to the west too early, because if you went there, it was like all wasps and spiders, and people would just typically wander that way and just get bodied.
Yeah.
So I tried really hard to reel back on the random encounters, but like the hunts I still made pretty tough. Especially if you encounter them at that level. You found him good. I tried to hide him a little bit.
Yes, the good old, can you spare a medicine or can you spare a little herb?
I mean, you gotta have at least one, right? But the reward I promise you is good. And there you can see kind of Jello on the lower left there.
I'm wondering, should I go to... Oh, I didn't know. Okay. See how this goes. I'm wondering if I should get the reward first.
It's not a terrible idea.
Yeah. Like that. It's not a terrible idea. So, what was I thinking? So what's your... I think you've said this before, Nick.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite JRPG?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I think overall, I'm gonna have to go with Chrono Trigger. Just because of the replayability of the cast was so likable. The story. The music.
Yeah, the music. Chrono Trigger was it came out right at the end of the Super NES life cycle, so it was like the most polished RPG that you could find in that era. And yeah, the replayability is just amazing.
Talk to the wife too.
I actually, it's amazing. So I agree. Chrono Trigger is really like you cannot go wrong by saying that it's the greatest game that the greatest RPG that you played.
It was really good. It just, and actually, since we're kind of on the subject of Chrono Trigger, early on in this game, I'm pretty straightforward with the random encounters. You're seeing like slimes or whatever, you attack them, they're gone. Later on in the game, I actually took a lot of inspiration from Chrono Trigger in terms of my random encounters, because I liked how like you get to the future and there are those like weeds that heal everybody. And I liked how even random encounters, like, they're not overly difficult, but they were like, every enemy had a role.
Yeah.
And so you learn to prioritize. You're like, well, I need to kill this weed first because he's going to heal everybody. And that's something that I start doing later on in the game once I kind of break you in. It's like, okay, well, you start learning that, oh, this one has a really nasty status effect.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty hit there.
You can heal.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Okay, so I'm not poisoned.
That is actually good that you mentioned that, because sometimes turn-based RPGs, at least a lot of them that I played, they kind of lose the sense of strategy, which is a bummer, because there's nothing else to do when you're doing turn-based battles. It should be all about strategy.
And that's what I tried to do with this.
I think it might be going down here.
As poor Mont is learning, hunts can be really rough. It's okay. Like this almost universally happens. But that's one of those things that I like to do. Like, there's this optional boss that just bodies you the first time you try. But this Jello you can easily over level and come back and stomp it. You could try the bat on the other side though.
Yeah, I might have a little more luck with that.
But Sam, I just with that especially, I tried to give enemies like certain roles. Like sometimes there's an enemy that has really high defense, really low magic defense, or vice versa. So you start to like the first few combats in an area, you're figuring out, okay, who does what, how does this work, and then once you figure it out, you're like, okay, I need to kill this guy first, and you're going down the list of priorities. Because I agree, turn-based, you gotta include strategy in there.
Yeah, there's many games that I played that just you have to just grind, and then being powerful is what gets you through, but you don't see a lot of strategy, so it's good. But you thought about all of this in your game.
Thank you.
And Mont dying there and then thinking about taking another monster, it's funny because that's actually the way to succeeding in Dark Souls.
Oh yeah.
When you get your butt kicked in the one area, it is really frustrating, but there's always kind of a path that you can go and just follow it, and maybe you get to kill the enemy in another area and you get an item that helps you out. So that's he succeeded.
And another thing too is like I made armor actually matter in this game, so like upgrading your equipment does a lot.
Yeah, and the equipment does it. Every town has like more powerful armor, because that's one of the things that I used to like about RPGs. That I used to find a new town, and I always used to go to the shop just to buy the newest gear.
So that's actually a great question. So what I tried to do when it came to equipment is I tried to do a mix of the two primary styles of vertical progression and horizontal progression. For weapons, obviously there's the horizontal progression of you can choose one weapon or another, and maybe at one point of the game you prefer to use bows with Nick, whereas in this other part of the game you prefer to use swords. Armor, with each town and each point of the game that you get to, you just always find better armor, so that continues to progress the more you play through the game. But accessories are kind of horizontal, because there are some accessories that it may be like, oh well, I got this, like I got, say, the haste ring or something. And yeah, later on in the game, there's more accessories for sale, but they have these good effects, but I really like this on Schmidt. And so you may not be using the newest that's available. You may stick with something that's a little older because it just kind of works in your build better. So accessories can stay viable for a little longer so that I give the player the option to kind of mix and match a little bit. But then other things you kind of keep getting better, and the numbers go up and you keep improving. The one thing that I did, and kind of to touch back on Star Ocean 2, so like, man, what just really pissed me off about Star Ocean 2 is like, I don't know if you guys remember on disc 2, there's this point in the game where like there was like this legendary weapon for like Claude and Rena that you like go through all this stuff to get. And it was like in the storyline, there were these incredibly powerful weapons, and you like go through all this to get them, and then they're not even that good.
Yeah. Actually, that game, Star Ocean 2, was very hard. Like, I remember that I was able to get through the game because I got the bunny shoes that made me really fast.
Those were
And that's
good.
how I was actually able to beat the last couple of bosses, because they were kicking my ass, man. It was just bad. And then I kind of crafted those. I got a pair from the Cave of Trials, and then I crafted another pair, and that's how I beat the game.
Yeah, no, you need those. But no, it's like in the Cave of Trials, when you get to the very bottom, you find a sword that's like literally got double the attack power of the legendary sword that you make. And I was always like, even as like a kid, as like a teenager, I was like, well, isn't this supposed to be like the legendary sword? Like, why is this random one better? So in this game, if you craft the weapons, they are the best.
The bottom of that cave.
Oh God, there's so much stuff that I did in that game because I was like obsessed with it as a teenager. I did a run with only Claude. And that
have you seen the anime too?
I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I wish they could cancel it. Claude looks so cool too. I loved his like redesign in it.
Yeah, that anime was pretty
Oh no, damn it, Schmidt!
fun. Yeah.
It's interesting to see how everybody plays this game because, like, having spoken to my testers or watching some people, like, everybody that I've seen and spoken to has, like, taken a slightly different approach to things, and it's, like, always really interesting for me.
Yeah, that must be... Yeah.
Because, like, but then again, I have the unfair advantage of knowing the mechanics of the game, so I'm like, I'm going to manipulate this and this and this. I know the boss is about to do this. Not today, bitch! Like... And one thing that I did too, you'll soon learn that I have a love of status effects.
Okay.
I'm sorry in advance.
No, that's great. I love status effects. No, I don't love having status effects except haste, shield, stuff like that. But no, status effects are always really adds like a layer of enjoyability and kind of tactics, I think, to a game. Because otherwise, what I really hate is when you have a combination of heavy grinding and then there's no like strategy or tactic to it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I like a puzzle. I don't like to grind the same thing by just hitting a button, which is probably why Dragon Warriors 7 was so bad, because of the mindlessness to it. That's something I hate, is not having
the grinding
effects, and that actually
the grinding in the game was mindless. I'm not sure about. I just can't remember now because I kind of try to block off that game of my mind. I do think the last bosses were kind of tough.
Oh yeah.
That's why you need. That's why you needed to grind so much. But it's just you have to be able to enjoy it. It feels like,
Oh, you're breaking
Cut
up
out a little bit
there, Sam. Sam, are you still there?
Oh no, technical difficulties.
I think he's still on the call. Sam? Yeah, maybe he's I think he's in the car right now, so he might Yeah, he lives in Puerto Rico, so he might have just gone into like a little valley. There's a lot of mountains there.
Yeah, bad service area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, so what were you saying, Sam? You kind of cut out when you started speaking.
That the grinding, in Dragon Warrior, it was mindless because it was you had to do it for such a long time, but that's one of the problems with some of the JRPGs that that stick to the traditional style at times, is that it's not enjoyable at all. The quest itself to get to the last boss, and some of the older games were enjoyable. Like even Star Ocean 2, I remember that I used to spend a lot of time grinding, and I really didn't have much of an issue with it.
It was such a fun grind, though, especially in that because of like that sort of active combat, and the experience rates weren't super punishing.
Yeah, the action combat helped, and that's another question from me to you. Do you like this might be like heresy or something, but I have been finding action RPGs to be a little more fun than traditional RPGs as of late. I don't know if it's that I just played so many turn-based RPGs that I don't know. Maybe I'm just like fatigued of them, like, and I just feel that action RPGs entertain me more as of late. Are you with me here, or do you think I'm a heretic or something?
I don't think that's necessarily like a heretical statement, so to speak. I agree that for so long the market was really saturated with them that turn-based got really boring, and then I'm gonna say the thing that'll get me a little bit of heat here, but like as much as I loved PlayStation RPGs, they all had a tendency to be overly cinematic, like especially like say Final Fantasy IX, which I'm gonna go on the record, I love 9. But like the summons in that game, like Arc took like 5 minutes. I summoned Arc once, and I actually went out and made a sandwich and got back into my room before the summon animation stopped.
Yeah.
And that really, like, turn-based isn't exactly like a thrilling, exciting system at its core. So it's like when you've got really slow, drawn-out animations, it just makes it last longer. And I think one of the things, because if you've played, I love Persona 5, and I think one of the things that helps with that is the animations are quick, they're flashy, combat changes very quickly, like on a dime. Like, because you're going along, you've got a really good tempo, you've got the advantage, and then the enemy hits you with a weakness, and suddenly the tempo shifts. You're on the defensive, you're healing, you're buffing up, you're going back in, the tempo swings in your favor. Much like how Formont's dealing with this right now. Yeah! Oh. You got him!
Yeah.
Oh!
I knew it. That's why I spent all my money on healing items. Okay.
But that's one. Oh, okay. Now
I got a taunt. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll give you one. I'll give you one fun hint about the game, and this is something I didn't make it. I decided to manipulate the mechanics Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm having flashbacks to Ultima 3.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm back.
One of the kind of it's like a mechanic of RPG Maker MV that I sort of inadvertently left in this game is that buffs and debuffs actually stack twice.
Oh, sweet. That's a mechanic I really enjoy, actually. I love nothing more than, like, blessing my characters twice.
Yeah.
Or double haste.
And that's
stuff that gets me excited.
And that's one of the cool things that, like, I never really, like, openly explain it, but I'm like, hey, if people, like, play around and figure it out, like, that's a huge thing that'll help the old off.
Yeah, to say, Nick, so far I'm enjoying this quite a bit. It really has that, like, Final Fantasy VI, Star Ocean kind of Chrono Trigger charm. This is a really polished RPG.
Thank you. And I tried really hard with the maps too. Like,
yeah. No, this is really good stuff, Nick. I'm really impressed.
I'll say this. It completely beats Dragon Warrior 7, and it actually looks better too.
Thank you. I'm just glad that glad you're enjoying it so far. You know, because I mean, I put this out there, and you know, on itch.io because I looked around at a bunch of platforms to host it on, and I was like, this one seems pretty good. And I just put it up basically for free. I'm like, you know, people can donate what they think it's worth. But like, all I ever wanted is I'm like, dude, if people just play my game and enjoy it, like that is the best prize to me. Because there's you know, like I said before, it was a labor of love. It's kind of like, it's sort of got like masked within it, like it's this humorous, self-referential little RPG. But I also kind of like masked in here and there in little moments, like some actual like life lessons that I've learned over the years, both just kind of in my life, in martial arts, things like that. In fact, actually, my Taekwondo instructor is Travis, the one that you spar with at the beginning of the game. He was not only my lead tester, but he's a 5th degree. He's actually a master in Chung Tuan style.
Oh, cool.
So even that, like, the fact that he just whips your ass.
I'm talking about your martial arts background, and Mont and I were actually pretty big in Taekwondo back in the mid-O's.
That's awesome. So how I think Mont mentioned that you guys got like your first degrees.
I have my first degree. Yeah. Sam's still colorblind. He started with Japanese karate, and he just. Sam's actually very good, especially at the sparring, but he never, he just hasn't gone to one school long enough to keep progressing with the belts, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that does.
Yeah, he started actually with Japanese karate.
I was the kind of guy that would show up as a white belt and spar the black belts.
Oh damn!
And then get the better of them. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've met Sam about, how old was I? I think I was about 13 or 14.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was about 20 years ago. Is that 20? Oh, shit, that is 20 years ago. That's a long time ago.
That realization. Yeah. No!
Yeah. And, yeah, Sam definitely does like that's what I was always really into. We actually did Mudakwon style. That's the Taekwondo we did under the Kukuan.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we were real big into sparring.
We like round sparring more than point sparring. Point sparring was kind of nerve-wracking because you never knew. Like sometimes you scored a point and the judges didn't see it.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like round sparring, you know, judges will still miss some of the hits when you're round sparring, but you have more time to make up for whatever, you know, if you're down, let's say you're down a few points, you still have a round or two left to get back and win the fight, and you can knock people out too in the rounds by rounds.
Okay.
So it's we used to do point sparring too, and you know we used to be pretty good too at that. We won a few tournaments like that. I think we won a Camp Hill, I think.
That's badass.
But we used to win some of those tournaments. But yeah, we won Virginia State championships too. I think both of us in our
that was
different
Olympic
divisions.
Style, yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, we were really big into the forum, or not into the forums, into the
sparring.
Yeah, I don't know which you obviously you have to have a good mix of both, especially if you're gonna 3rd degree black belt. But
definitely done a good mix of both. I've always wanted to go to a tournament, but I'm in a really rural area, so there's not like a lot of other schools to go and like compete against.
Yeah, definitely. We're at about 50 minutes, I think. I think I'm just going to cut the video so far at the just before. I don't know if we need to do the Taekwondo talking too much in the
post show.
In the JRPG thing, but I think we should wrap up the video now. I think next week we should do another hour of it or so. I should at least get through the thing, and that way the viewers definitely have a good idea of what this is really impressive, Nick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit difficult at first because it kind of pushes you to upgrade all your gear and all that stuff. And
oh no, it's I don't think it's this is great. I really like too, a little nod to Chrono Trigger with the optimized gear thing I noticed in there, and some of the other things. I mean, obviously you took a lot of care even on the menus for the inventory and things. So this is really cool, Nick.
Yeah.
So
it is really polished. It looks really polished.
So what I'm gonna do is I'll take the video. It's probably gonna take me about 4 or 5 days. I'm gonna combine this audio with it, and I'll post it on the Facebook and the YouTube. And then if you want to plan for next weekend, we can do another hour of it for another Let's Play session.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And then we can keep talking more. I don't want to bore our listeners with Taekwondo stuff either, because it's a little bit outside the.
Well, that was more personal off street. But I do like the fact that I do want to we should do this again, because we the whole Squaresoft and all this historical knowledge that you possess yourself, I think it makes a good talk between us three. So it's fun talk.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is high praise.
Oh no, and I'm really liking this. The first part. I mean, this is better than Xenogears. The way you balanced everything.
Oh, dude, Sam's right here, man. It's right here.
Some people will take offense. No, I'm not taking offense to that, but I know some readers that are very hardcore Xenogears fans. I won't take offense to that. I actually found the game more fun than I thought it would be, and the dialogue a lot more polished. Like, it does really feel. It does feel like something like Working Designs would have published, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
This is excellent, Nick. So let's try to schedule. Does the same time next week work for both of you?
Yeah, this works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I'll work on getting this video ready together today or over the next couple of days. So I'll probably publish it Thursday or Friday, I think, and then have a little article too. So we'll plug Nick Quest here. This is really impressive, Nick. I'm sure a lot of the readers would really enjoy playing this.
Wow, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Oh no, thank you for putting in so much work. I can definitely tell you weren't exagerating when you said you spent 1,000 hours on this.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so let's plan on the same time next week, guys. And I'm gonna work on this video stuff this week, and so I'll have something up on the website on Thursday or Friday, and we'll just plan next Sunday. We'll do another about hour Let's Play session.
All right.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
That should be good.
You guys have a good night, and thank you. All right. Take care, guys.
You too, guys.
All right, thank you.
Great talking to you.
All right, bye.
Yep.